Hey, it's Curly. BRO 2022 has come and gone. It was something I was really looking forward to this year since BRO 2021 was the first official Bushy Road tournament that I ever took part in for Vanguard. And I had a lot of hopes for this time around. And I really just kind of wanted to just one-up myself from last year, which wasn't much because I didn't really do great last year. And I did manage to do that. But rather than getting into my experience this year with BRO 2022, I thought we could instead talk about the overall results from all three regions. So we have this beautiful pie chart here by the great Fuzzy Paradox. You can find the link to this post and their account in the description down below. But essentially this is just a pie chart that represents the top 8 of the North American region for standard. I've dipped my toes a little bit in V Premium, but I am definitely not in the point where I can actually talk about V Premium, so that won't be one of the formats we cover, as well as Premium. I really don't have an experience with Premium, so it'll just be standard for today. We'll start here with NA, which is the region that I actually competed in. I was going to try and compete in the AO region, but I'm an idiot and didn't realize that it actually took place on the Friday before the NA region. I thought it took right after the NA region on the Saturday, so I thought I could go like do this crazy marathon of Vanguard where I just go NA then AO and just play a bajillion matches, wish for the best. No, turns out signed up for AO the day before Friday, didn't fail check-in because I didn't know it was actually time. But enough of that, let's take a look here at what actually conspired. So in the wake of the huge breakup of Inlet Pulse and Magnolia, we kind of expected Gravidia and Seraph Snow to sort of jump up in overall usage. Gravidia, it was something that was sort of missing, and I guess part of that is just that Magnolia and Inlet Pulse kept them at bay. Likewise with Prison, they kind of sort of had a rougher matchup against Magnolia in some instances, and also there was the fact that Acoustic Makurite was a very difficult and expensive promo to get. But now with that being reprinted and there just being no Magnolias present, basically we figured it would lead the rise to Gravidia and as well Seraph Snow, which we don't actually see in this list here. Instead, we've got 3 Gravidias, 2 Kairis, 1 Bruce, 1 Bastion, 1 Tamayura, which isn't all too shocking. The triple Gravidia kind of makes a lot of sense. Gravidia is one of the best decks out right now. The only thing that really could have maybe kept it in check was Magnolia Inlet, just because it's very good at also drawing pieces. It has the end picks to not get its stuff retired. It can swing in with a lot better numbers, draw a lot more cards to be able to guard. But without something like that, Gravidia is the next best thing when it comes to being able to draw a lot of cards and hit for big numbers. Kairi is something that has been, it's a deck that a lot of people talk about a lot. It's a very good deck, and it's something that you'd think would be topping more, but it doesn't show up as frequently, and I think that's going to start changing soon. There are more players that I guess are catching up to Kairi, but Tamayura is one of the other things that I kind of thought would be a bigger hit, at least in the region of NA, and I can't really speak for what the pools were like because we don't have that kind of data available to us right now. But in general, I feel like Tamayura was something that kind of fell flat with most of set 5. I feel like in Japan, when Tamayura in set 5 dropped, she was a lot more popular, and maybe that set was a little bit more explored. Whereas when we finally got it in English, we kind of saw what it was in Japanese side and kind of maybe ignored it. And really all we got out of it was Thegra SPs being really expensive along with the Evo ones. But it's kind of ironic considering that now cards like Mabel, which I believe has just shot up in price, other than the fact that it's very good and can be splashed in 2 different nations in many different decks. I also feel like just a lot of people just didn't get their hands on it when they could have. All that to say that I feel like Tamayura could have seen more representation, but in any case, there is a top 8 that made it. And then Bastion and Bruce, been around since, set 1, 2 best decks since then. Bastion has kind of died off, I think, in popularity in the NA region. You don't really see a lot of Bastion popping up. Bruce is sort of seeing a resurgence. It's kind of always been around. I think for some reason in set 4, a lot of people thought grade 4 Bruce was really bad, and they dropped it and picked up all the other grade 4 decks. But now I see a lot of players, what feels like, especially after Magnolia being gone, is that they're just going back to Bruce. Especially since a lot of its pieces are cheap, minus the Brainwash Thriller as per usual. So in general, this isn't really too surprising. Then we take a look at the EU one, and it is just completely different from the NA one, which is kind of funny. There is 2 Prisms, 2 Bavsagra, 1 Thegria, 1 Greedon, 1 Bruce, 1 Flagbird. Very, very odd. Although a lot of it kind of makes sense, minus the Greedon. Thegria, we've gone over it on the channel. She's a solid deck. I'm shocked she made it all the way to top 8. It is a good deck. It just doesn't super excel at anything. It doesn't, in my opinion, have super great matchups against everything. It's just a nice, honest deck. Bavsagra was kind of like that, but now Bavsagra is just this crazy, huge, threatening crit monster that is only going to get stronger with time. And I feel like the reason that Bavsagra wasn't seeing a lot of play is just that a lot of her pieces were really expensive for whatever reason. Like I think Trick Moon is nearing like $30, $40, $50 or something right now. But I feel like maybe that has gotten a little bit easier with time. People have been able to like put on these Trick Moons on like layaway or something like that and get them. So we're seeing Bavsagra pop up a little bit more. Seraph Snow is no surprise. She's been good since she dropped in, or rather, Pure Light has been good since it dropped. And as mentioned, now that Magnolia is gone, one of the main things that maybe was keeping us at bay, you're going to see Prison popping up a lot more. I feel like Prison popped up a lot on the Japanese sides of things, whereas here instead we saw a couple of other decks, mainly Magnolia, be way more popular for way longer. Flagbird makes a lot of sense. I've talked about it a lot, where Flagbird is really good. No one ever wants to believe me. Flagbird's great, does a lot of good things, has pretty good matchups. So I'm not too shocked to see it up here. And then Bruce is just Bruce. Not much to say about that. Then the last one we have here is a little bit more shocking that a Zorga made it to the top. I'm assuming by the fact that they used this image, it was the red Zorga focused. But other than that, it seems pretty typical. Nirvana was something that I kind of expected to be maybe not more popular, because I myself played a couple Nirvana, so I'm sure there were a good amount out there, but I expected to see more tops for Nirvana, and that's kind of always been the story with Nirvana. It's always out there, a lot of people play it, a lot of people think it's good, but it never actually tops. And this is actually the first top I've ever seen, I think, of a Nirvana in like the English side of things. So that's kind of interesting. There's also no Kyrie's in the EU side, which is interesting. But we got a Kyrie here. I'm assuming we'll see more Kyries. I feel like that'll die out a little bit because I feel like Gravidia is going to become a lot bigger. If anything, just by the sheer fact people watching BRO see Gravidia win, oh, let's pick up Gravidia. Gravidia is good. And Kyrie doesn't really do the best against Gravidia, I don't believe. She needs units on board. Gravidia blows that up. Gravidia is strong on turn 3. Kyrie can sit on, you know, the garbage grade 3 Kyrie and not do much until turn 4. So, not the best matchup. But I think after we get the lyrical set 3 stuff, Kyrie will see a huge jump. But the landscape of the meta will be completely different from there. So what I can gather from this overall is that, again, with the lack of Magnolia, Gravidia has sort of filled in that void there for a lot of people, I guess. Gravidia is pretty cheap and easy to play, and also very good. Prison is not as big as I thought it was, except for in EU, but I think, again, that might change as the format or the meta develops a little bit before it changes again and set 6 is released, which I think is going to be a real big shakeup. Bruce is coming back, and that's going to stay the same because it is getting pretty solid support in set 6. And it seems like there's just room for other things like Zorga and Greedon to just sneak on in. With that, let's jump over back to NA here, and we can see the top 4 that actually made it. So we got ourselves Gravidia winning here against Gravidia. So that says a lot that two Gravidias managed to make it to finals. Gravidia's looking really good right now. Hadn't always been looking really good, but I feel like, again, because of Magnolia, and I just kind of been tucked away for a bit, or maybe players were sleeping on it. I don't know what's going on. I don't think the Festival Collection support was that groundbreaking that all of a sudden it's seeing it pop up. In fact, I think only the player that got first is using the new grade 1, whereas the player in second did not. So Bruce managed to make it, which is a bit interesting. I was not expecting that, but Bruce is a lot to handle. I think the only thing that can really handle Bruce really well is something like Gravidia, because it can very easily farm a huge hand to survive Bruce's massive turn, and maybe even kill it before that. With the Shadow Army token on turn 2, being live on turn 3, this always being a turn 4 deck. Likewise, Kyrie's the same thing. The only thing is that it's more rearguard reliant, but Kyrie's very good. I actually know Yusha from Twitter. Maybe I don't know him, but I know of him. So congrats. So yeah, that's pretty interesting to see. Then over here, EU is the one that everyone's been really talking about because of this here. This Greedon making it to first. I don't understand how Greedon made it to top 8. I've been very confused about Greedon lately because I've been seeing it pop up in locals in my area, and then now all of a sudden it's winning BRO. And it's getting more support in set 6. So I'm gonna have to check out Greedon and do some study on this. Very happy to see Flagberg made it in 4th. Again, Flagberg is very good. I can see it maybe having trouble with possibly Prison, possibly Greedon if they, sack. Which I'm told is the case here between this finals match here. I tried to see if I can do some research for this, take a look at some of the matches, but for some reason when I checked, Butchero decided to delete or not save the VODs of Bureau for whatever reason, which means I can't really look back and see anything. Maybe they'll post it on their YouTube or something later on. But yeah, I've heard this was just a disappointing final where this guy just like sacked and this guy just got eaten alive. But very interesting. That Greedon is there. I mean, I can't say that he just won this finals match by luck, because he got to finals. So assuming it was at least 7 or 8 rounds, he got through that. Then he got through a bracket and got all the way to the final round with Greedon. So something's working here. I don't know what it is, but something's working for this man. And last, we've got in AO here, rather interesting, where Gravidia actually lost. I don't know. I tried to look at the bracket and it's kind of hard to distinguish what was what, so I just scrapped that. The only thing I could really tell is who was in 4th, right? Or sorry, who were the top 4, and then see who faced off who. But we obviously know that either Gravidia lost to Kyrie or to Nirvana. I can see Gravidia having trouble with Nirvana, with the Amelia, them going into grade 4 really soon, pinging them for damage multiple times, or getting with Esper Idea early. I could see that if they went first or something like that, so that kind of makes sense. I can see Kyrie beating up Bruce, because Bruce is turn 4, but Kyrie can have the possibility to be, good early game and then finish off Bruce if they manage to go first, something like that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking might have happened, but I guess I'll have to check the bracket later and see how it went. And let's actually take a look at some of the decks here, because as you saw from the image, we had the deck logs here. We'll start here with the Kyrie from NA. As probably expected, it's running the Friendship Engine here, which is presumably the better version of Kyrie, just seeing from how much it's being played. Then we've got Bruce here. This is a rather somewhat interesting build, because we're still seeing the Leonard. No Queen Lu, so it's not the guard restrict version. Not a single brainwash swirler item, which is also very interesting. So yeah, I usually think that I know every Bruce variant, because you usually kind of play a lot of the same cards, but no, Bruce actually has a lot of tools, different tools to play with. Which ones of them are good, I don't know. Like, for example, we're seeing 4D Dare here, so very, I guess, comeback heavy. This is the second place Gravidia here, which is very interesting. It's a very basic build. There is not a single Shurgo or the grade 1 that puts back meteors, which I found astonishing. They're also playing the Bobo Mine instead of any of that stuff, battling more the Counterblast, which is very different from the first place deck, which instead plays the Shurgo and the grade 4 that put back meteors, but also does not use Bobo Mine at all or any way to get back Counterblast. Two different, various, wildly different, Gravidia builds just because of those two cards, where this one has the lasting power, but at the same time has no way to like get Counterblast back, so they can maybe be Counterblast starved, have to watch the resources a little bit more delicately, whereas this just has to make sure it doesn't deck out, so it can't maybe draw as much as maybe the other build can. This match I did manage to see some of it, and it was disgusting because it was just Gravidia getting like over trigger and crits and then like triple healing and then doing like 5 damage. It was disgusting. Honestly, I can't hate this deck more than I ever have in my life, especially this stupid over trigger. Then we're gonna go over to, I believe, EU here with the Flagberg build. So this is very interesting. I've seen a lot of people play Flagberg. They don't make use of the Zorga ride line or orders, which I get it. I don't know if the getting the Ascendant Assault access to it early is worth it, but hey, whatever works. You're 4th. You got all the way through BRO. Who am I to say anything? Very interestingly, here we got the Clipping Dragon, which I haven't seen a lot of Flagberg playing. Usually it's the Prize Trident, but we're actually playing both here, which is kind of interesting. Clipping Dragon, you attack 5 times, or you Alchemy Magic, end of battle or end of turn, put into soul countercharge 1. So this helps out get resources. Flagberg has these crazy generation of resources with both the Inlet Pulse, this Clipping Dragon, this Cursed Trident here, or Prize Trident here. They can just get everything in one turn and act like everything is for free, essentially. They also are playing this grade 1, which is very interesting. I really like this card, but I never actually thought I'd actually see it in use. But it just gets 5k, so it's just a 10k shield, which is very interesting because we've seen like in this build and then the 2 Gravidia builds playing the Standard, which is also a 10k shield. I didn't think the 10k shield were very usable in these decks, but I guess it is, especially considering that the Gravidia ones play the fronts, so you thought they'd have more than enough shield, but apparently not. In general, Overdose is a very difficult format to guard against because our shield values are pretty crappy and there's not really a lot of great defensive options. So I felt like everyone kind of discarded that and was just going full aggro because, like, why even bother guarding? You're not going to be able to guard. But no, that doesn't seem to be the case. We're also seeing a couple players, or rather I've seen a couple players in general for BRO use the new heals. We've got this one, which is the crit heal. So this is very good against stuff like Gravidia, Bruce, Nirvana if they use the not Esperidea but the other one, stuff like that. So this is, I think, is the one that is more usable in terms of how the meta is right now. I feel like stuff like Gravidia, etc., PBO, and all of these other cards or decks, I should say, are utilizing getting crits by effects more, whereas Restanding is really only applicable right now to if you want to block an Esperidea, or if you find an Overlord that you're fighting off against. There's not too many things that restand. There's maybe even like Thegria, which it was, in this top 8. So that is very interesting to see. Zagra as well, but Zagra swings in with these huge numbers. I don't know if this crit really or this trigger really matters. And other than that, I've seen this order a couple of Flagberg players play it. What it does is Flagberg just gets 20k, so just a 20k shield, which is kind of interesting. I've seen a couple of users or players use this. I haven't seen it in action, but I mean, 20k shields for literally free, no counterblast, no soul blast, nothing. It just has to be Flagberg. That sounds pretty good to me. Seraph Snow list here is pretty simple. I've seen a lot of players pick up this card here, which is basically a perfect guard for grade 2 or less units, so it could be for your Vanguard also. I thought it was only rear guards. You just Soul Blast 1, and I think you just have to have 1 card in prison. yeah, so if you just have one card in prison, Soul Blast 1 guard with this, Power Guard, grade 2 or less, cannot be hit. It's not more, right? Because that'd be kind of broken. Yeah, grade 2 or lower. So you can protect your rear guards. Early game, you can guard. This player is only running at 1. They are running the grade 1 here, where if you have a grade 4, this becomes a 20k shield. I always wanted to hope that this was useful because I thought this was really cool, but I don't play Seraph Snow. So that's something. That's a thing that can be played, I guess. And other than that, everything else looks pretty standard. No laser Tate or whatever the heck her name is. Everything else is just relatively what you'd expect. Got the Bruce build here. This one is also very interesting. We've got the heal here, but this is actually the one for something that's attacked multiple times in a turn. So that's very interesting that they're playing 2 of that. I wonder what the justification behind this was. We also have ourselves this guy here, which so it's a grade 1, and if you have Bruce, you put into the soul, choose Bruce, give it 10k. So it just buffs up your Bruce, so when he stands, he can be more lethal. Never thought I'd actually see that play either. Other than that, no brainwash roll is here either, which I don't know how I feel about that. Which I get it, but at the same time, brainwash roll is pretty good in Bruce. There's also no Pandemonium Tactics in this list here. Instead, we've got max of the Hell Blast full die. So very interesting. No, oh no, there's the Marjorie. I was gonna say no Marjorie either, but no, there she is. So rather interesting Bruce build. Bruce has evolved, I feel, a lot after set 4. Immediately I feel like it was kind of just set 3 with a couple new things, but now it's evolved to be a lot different. Bruce is shaping up to be really interesting. I think it's going to be something that we're gonna have to look out for again come set 3, or sorry, set 6, where it's going to be more playable on sets turn 3, jumping up my words here, where it's going to have a lot more early pieces. And finally, we have here the freaking greed-on list. I know what a lot of these cards do, because I know like every card in Dark States, because I look at every card and think like, can I use this in Barrow? No? Okay, don't care. There's a lot of wild things going on here that it makes me wonder how this man it's a first, or not even first, just out of pools, because of the fact that he has like 4 of the Incane, which you have to counterblast 2, which is crazy. My understanding, this deck doesn't have any way to countercharge, so I guess this is just for consistency's sake. It's not like he's using it multiple times. This I think is very cool, because it lets us use plus on soul just from using greed on skill, so it makes his skill to restand Soul Blast 1 essentially, because you Soul Blast, put it right back in. So that's very good. We have 2 of the Bubetsu here, which is odd. It lets you get in an extra attack after Greedon does his suck, because you just counterblast 1, call something, and then if you have to turn more, you draw, so you don't lose cards in hand. It's the only way that this deck I think can like draw. And then we got the Foond here, which I wanted to like fuck around and see if I can. Obviously maybe in Greedon, but maybe something stupid like in Barrel, where if I can like soul charge some Greedons, I can just play this counterblast 1 to have a rear guard with a crit. But yeah, if you have 2 Greedons in your soul, he just gets counterblast 1 to get a crit, and it's 1 attacks, so it's not like it's on place. It isn't to the end of the battle. So that's kind of whatever. It also helps you soul charge. And also playing the Kennen, where you just play on main phase only, has 9k, counterblast 1, call the top card of your deck, and in turn retire it. So it just helps you get the 4 standing. So yeah, wild wild stuff here, but hey, if it works, it works. And we got our final set of decks here. We've got ourselves the Bruce from AO here. This is a very, very interesting build. Okay, they are playing. I thought they were only playing 3 heals, but no, they're playing 4 heals. They're playing 2 of the crit trigger heal here. They got the Hell Blast dive, no Pandemonium Tactics either, which is interesting because I'm just confused because all the Bruces I've faced locally, well, locally, but just recently, all using panel 1 tactics, but then everyone here is using Hell Blast full dive. But alright, we see the return of Leonard here. Everyone of the Bruces we've seen has run 4 of the Megan, who just gets 10k on Final Rush. So that's a 20k attacker that can swing in twice with the Bruce restand. Other than that, everything else is pretty typical here. Again, no Queen Lou. Seems everyone's sort of ditched that for the sake of, you know, being able to be more aggressive and instead of more guard restricted. Then we got the last Gravidia list here, which is somewhat similar to a combination of the first two we saw, where we have the one Shargle, and then that is it. I don't know how the hell these Gravidia players don't deck out, but I guess they just they do a good job of drawing cards when they should. And we do have 2 of the Bulbamine here, gonna counter charge. It seems like the perfect number for meteors is 7 of the old one, 4 of the new one. It counts as 2. Kind of seen all the Gravidia players play this set of meteors, so I guess that's maybe the perfect ratio for them. Other than that, everything else is pretty standard here for Gravidia. Then we go over to the Nirvana list here. This Nirvana list is kind of wild for a couple of reasons. No normal heals, only no normal heals, only 4 restanding heal. Okay, sure. They got Egg as starter, 4 Trick Stars in main deck. And then they play 4 of the Amelia. Usually people play like 3 of these, I've seen is the ratio people usually play. They actually play 1 of the Jaeger. Okay. And then 4 of the Esperadia. So that's a lot of bricks possibly, because this is only active on that specific turn. I don't know why you would play 4 Amelia and then the Jaeger. I guess you can still overdress this, use it as a 15k shield on board. So there is that. They're not so much focusing on going into the extra attack counter charge, but I feel like you could have just maybe played something else. I mean, I don't know, maybe not. I guess that's still a good option. It just depends on, you know, how much removal there is, because this doesn't have any protection. A lot of videos running around can easily pop that, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, just this kind of threw me for a loop. But hey, again, whatever works. And finally, we got the winner here with Kyrie, which just has the friendship engine. Kyrie, or I should say Lyrical, doesn't really have the new heals yet. They'll be getting that next Lyrical set. They are playing like Highlander heals here, which sure works or not. They're playing 1 of the Sweet Sweet, which I really love this card. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on this. The card is great, especially in Kyrie. They're also playing Highlander PGs here, which is kind of funny. Other than that, it's also rather typical. It's a little different from the first one because we're playing La Plume here. It lets you pull out the grade 2. Grade 2. They only play 1 of. And then they're playing this, which is actually the shield for Kyrie. I wanted to use this, but I feel like it clashes, especially if you're playing like the friendship engine. Because you have it in can, if you have it in hand, you can show a Kyrie, or rather I should say on Guardian Circle, you show a Kyrie from a hand, and then she becomes a 15k shield, which is really solid, especially for generally being for free. But it does say a card with Kyrie in its card name, so you can technically use this with the Grade 2 Kyrie. This person actually plays 2 of them, so they actually have 5 targets for this. You will obviously only need 1 of them, so you'll have, you know, the other Kyries as dead cards, so this is pretty good to make use of them. So that's pretty cool. And then that's it. That is BRO. I don't usually do these kind of videos, but I wanted to try and give it a shot. And in general, as I've mentioned a bunch of times, I think the format's going to start aiming more towards Gravidia coming into power. Bruce, I think, is going to be big in set 6. Prison is going to stay pretty relevant. I don't know if people might fall off of it just because there's new support, and that tends to be the pattern. Even though a deck is good, new support for like other stuff comes out, people get, you know, bored of the current build they play other stuff, find out that Seraph Snow is still good, come back to Seraph Snow, but we'll see, or at least when it comes to tournaments, maybe that's a different story. And other than that, maybe watch out for Greedon. Something, them boys be brewing something, so take a look at that. They're getting more support, they're getting a promo. Yeah, things are looking pretty interesting from now until October, where we get the release of set 6 in English. In between that, we're getting Shaman King, which might shake up things. Shaman King was doing really good in Japan, specifically a couple of builds. Don't know if that's going to transfer over well here in English. We'll just have to wait and see, or if it even be even better, especially considering that we'll get, on top of having the knowledge from Japan, we're also getting both sets that Japan got separately in one. I don't know how that will affect things, if the pull rates might be different, some things might be more expensive, we might not see these things be played. Shaman King might not even be big in the English region, you know, region that gets English supported cards. So I don't know, we'll see. But until then, take care of yourself, play Vanguard, and have a damn good one.